tourists have their own wish list, and natural protected areas are in the top of their wish list. We want to experience nature. We don't like to read. We'd rather be there than reading a book or a magazine. So we all want to have that picture, got the idea of UNESCO heritage, have the photograph of the Perito Moreno Glacier in Patagonia, in Argentina, or the other protected areas with heritage that are so much appealing for tourists. So in order to address this challenge, we are developing in ISO a new standard. It's not about conservation, it's about tourists. It's about tourism and tourists going there. In 2005, ISO, that's the International Organization for Standards, made up a new technical committee. So you can see there the countries that were interested in developing standards for tourism. In order to give tourists more data, in order to get them informed decisions, in order to know what they, as Anna told in the first presentation, her father wanted to know what's it all about. So tourists just don't go there without reading. They read before. They want to know, and they want to have their expectations and their needs fulfilled once there. You can see in the map that there are some countries in light blue. It means they decided to vote. They are participant members. There are also two countries in dark blue, Spain and Tunisia. They are they hold the twinning secretary in ISO for these standards. And also you have all these yellow countries. They are observers. How do we work for natural protected areas? Well, it all began in 2008. It was a proposal from Costa Rica. They asked a new standard to be developed, and experts are those from those countries I've shown you before, give their advice. How does it work? It's like every country has a national standard body. For instance, in Italy, it's UNI. In Australia, it's Standards Australia. And they do call every stakeholders. They call universities to work with experts, national protected areas management and rangers, and you go there and you have meetings and you exchange points of view. So there you have 2 meetings. It was in Iguazu Falls, one of our, in Argentina, protected areas that gets more than 1.5 million visitors a year. And there's people having fun also and exchanging points of view in the meeting. So every country has to develop the national committee, and they have the same meetings, discussions at a national and international level. Argentina hold the convenorship for this group. We did have a long story with more than 111 years of natural protected areas history. Our first park was Nahuel Huapi in Patagonia. And we had 8% territory under protected areas following the IUCN categories. So, in the right column, you can see what it's the path. Every standard, every international standard goes through these stages. You are, in the beginning, a new project. Then you need to build consensus about it. And you go through meetings and balloting. Maybe you can't see because of the light. There are some green dots there that show where the meetings were held internationally. We had meetings for this international process in Costa Rica, in Spain, in Brazil, in South Korea, in Argentina, in Italy, in Portugal, and in France. And it took a long time to get everyone there convinced, and it's a question about consensus, so it took time. This international standard, there's a new number maybe you remember from now. It's ISO 18065. What's an international standard? An international standard is a normative document that has been approved by the P members, those countries who vote after the path we have been going through those meetings, and also WebEx and Skype meeting, of course. And we exchanged mails and we discussed. So in the end, this final draft is approved by the P members, and the secretariat that's in Geneva, the ISO General Secretariat, launches this new ISO standard. For you, it's like an avant-premiere because this standard is going to be launched soon, and this is the scope of the standard. As Mark was telling us, which things can be certified or not, this is the scope of our standard. Those are requirements for tourist services provided directly by natural protected areas authorities. It means it can be publicly managed, privately managed, by ONG, mixed by a community. And these requirements are in order to satisfy visitors whilst giving priority to the MPA conservation objectives, excluding marine protected areas. So we took into account all the IUCN bibliography to develop this, and we are very proud to show you the index. This is the highlight of the index. The scope, of course, some terms and definitions, approaches for public use, what it's been called the service provision itself, access, reception, information, signposting, environmental education and interpretation, of course, complaints handling, facilities, that's an only example, the visitor centers. There's also a chapter for safety, waste management, cleaning and maintenance, and 2 annexes, because we do believe in tourism for all, so there's one annex for accessibility and another one for consumers' rights. Why do we call it an inspiring solution? Because we believe it's going to increase customer confidence. It will help developing countries to promote themselves. It also will improve visitor satisfaction and attract and reassure tourists. And the evidence of its impact, well, we also need to wait till it's going to be published soon. But once published, this standard, it's not mandatory, but will help ensure consistent level of service from every natural protected area in front of tourists that welcome tourists.